Bears played well in the fourth quarter. I feel like we probably should have won it against Washington. That would have been a huge win for them, big momentum win.
Yes.
Cardinals coming off of a big momentum win themselves with a last-second field goal to win against the Miami Dolphins. A couple of different storylines here in this one. Carmen, for a matchup that matters, what do you got?
It's the Chicago offensive line and their health, really, against this Arizona defensive line. Because honestly, this Bears offensive line, even with, Braxton Jones goes down against the Commanders, that drastically shifts how they're able to do things. And then you have Tevin Jenkins in and out of the lineup. You have Doug Kramer having to come in relief after he had that failed goal line attempt. It was just a whole mess up front for the Chicago Bears offense. And despite the fact that this offensive line, 10th best run blocking grade in the league, tied for the 10th best pass blocking grade in the league, according to PFF. And then you've got this 27.7 pressure percentage allowed, which I think is the key here. That ranks 20th. You have an 82.9% pass block efficiency grade, which is 24th. That's kind of where it manifests itself, where you see that Caleb Williams doesn't have a lot of time to do things, and that it was especially evident after Braxton Jones went out in this last game, and they just kind of had to shuffle that offensive line around. But to the credit of Caleb Williams, to the credit of the Chicago Bears offense, they hung in there, and to a credit of the defense for keeping them in it, for stopping Washington in the red zone. They were only down by a score pretty late after that first score by Caleb Williams late in the game. You get those two scoring drives late. You pull ahead finally after not leading the entire game. That to me shows an incredible amount of resilience from Caleb Williams in particular, and not giving up on things even when there was absolutely no rhythm to be had. But you can't do that again. And I mean, honestly, leaving a team with 25 seconds needing a touchdown to go the length of the field usually means that you win the game. Again, I caution Washington against living like that, because that was very dangerous, and a lot of things had to go wrong on the Bears' part, and a lot of things had to go right on the Washington part for that to work out. But you never want to be in a case where you have to rely on your defense to stifle an offense to allow you to catch up late in the game. That's not a way to live either if you're the Chicago Bears. So trying to get out to a faster start against an Arizona defensive line that could allow you to do that, I should say. And this is a tremendous bounce back game for the Chicago Bears, who just lost in heartbreaking fashion. This is one of those things too, just anecdotally, can either kind of snowball and tank your season, or it can strengthen you as a team, getting through something like that and bouncing back. So this is going to be extraordinarily important for them on the road too, which I saw a stat on Twitter as well, where Matt Eberflus has not won a true road game for the Chicago Bears. He's like 0-17 or something like. I need to go back and look at that stat, because that doesn't sound right to me. But they don't fare well on the road is the point in all of that.
That would be nuts if that was the case.
Wait, hold on. I'm going to look it up right now. So if you want to,
all right. I'll take over for my matchup that matters, and then we'll come back.
On a Sunday, that was the qualifier. Has not won a true road game on a Sunday, but still, that's when the majority of games are played. So that's still bad. That's still not good. 0-17. Yeah, no, not great.
Not great. My matchup that matters here, I'm going to give some kudos to Trey McBride, who's one of the best tight ends in the NFL, and I don't think that he gets enough love for being one of the best tight ends in the NFL. Over the last 3 weeks, Trey McBride, 82.6 receiving grade, 271 receiving yards, and a 23.1 threat percentage, which is a PFF stat that we have that you guys can see if you have a PFF Plus subscription, where it basically tracks how often are you getting targeted per route that you are running. So it's one way that we really keep tabs on, okay, how much are you emphasizing the offense? Everybody wants to talk about Marvin Harrison Jr. and the great game that he had last week and how much he was a hero. Over the last 3 weeks, Trey McBride is targeted more than Marvin Harrison Jr. And so, again, I just don't think he gets the recognition that he deserves here. Now, when it comes to the Bears, they're pretty good at defending tight ends. They're sixth best in the NFL with only 45 receptions to tight ends allowed. They're ninth best in the NFL with just 566 receiving yards allowed to tight ends so far this season. So a top 10 group at defending the tight end position, but they've got a good one that they're going up against. And so can the Bears still be good at making sure that those tight ends stay quiet, particularly a great one like Trey McBride? That is my matchup that matters there. My plus factor is really just Caleb Williams. Can Caleb Williams just really get out to a hot start, because he has not been able to do so most of the time throughout this season? He's got a 52.9 passing grade in the first quarter throughout this year. Last week alone, 38.3 passing grade in the first quarter. And so again, this is a road game, just like last week was a road game. You got to be able to get out of the gate a lot hotter than what Williams has been this season, certainly as of late. When you look at last week, fourth quarter, he was great. Now, if he's going to like take that fourth quarter that he had against the Commanders, and that's basically where he's going to start with the first, right? That's good. If we're rolling it over here, that's great. But I'm saying that we got to see a little bit more of a fire in him, and some good production in the first quarter, because we have not seen it so far this season. What's your plus factor here?
Yeah, it's incredibly kind of confounding that, especially those first 10 to 15 plays are usually scripted. And we've had some back and forth on terminology on whether or not Shane Waldron actually scripts or he just kind of has a plan. But like, that's very common, and that's pretty standard, I should say, actually, for every offense. And it hasn't worked for the Bears at all this season. I don't believe they have a touchdown on their first drive this year. But my plus factor here, again, is more outside of the stats, but it's Tyreek Stevenson, who who's having the worst week ever, but deservedly so. I mean, this is a guy that had his back to the play on the Hail Mary for a good 5 seconds while the play was going on, and then he comes in late and disregards his assignment. He was supposed to be the one in the back of the scrum, playing the savior role or whatever you want to call it, and batting the ball out of Noah Brown's hands, who was the one that ultimately ended up catching the deflection that Tyreek Stevenson had on the ball. He tipped it up instead of batting it down because he was late to the play. He was trying to play hero. It was a whole mess. Matt Eberflus has not committed to Tyreek Stevenson starting this game, but the reality of the situation is that Tyreek Stevenson is needed on this Bears defense. He has been a good player for them, save for the boneheaded mistakes like the Hail Mary. And then also earlier in the game, he had a personal foul where he punched Sam Cosmi's face mask. And I'm like, bro, Sam Cosmi has 100 pounds on you. I don't know that that's the fight you want to pick.
Yeah, not smart. Not smart to punch the face mask, and not smart to punch a guy who outweighs you by
a guard. Like, why are we picking fights with guards?
Yeah.
I just need to see him bounce back. I need to see him lock in. I need to see the fact that all of the conversations that we were not privy to that happened in the Bears locker room, in the meeting rooms, by Matt Eberflus, by his veteran teammates. I need to see all of those things where the Bears are saying they hold each other accountable internally. All right, I need to see the fruits of that then on the field, and I want to see Tyreek Stevenson locked in if he does indeed play for the Chicago Bears this week. And I want to see him make some big plays and make the things that we know that he's capable of, and kind of keep himself in check. Because the Bears were not very, Bears players especially were not very, they were pretty loud about the fact that they need to hold each other accountable. And I think Cole Kmet was the one that said, respect the game. And that's true.